And I think often a lot of people give up before they break through because they think, oh, no one's interested in this. It's not getting the engagement that everything else I'm doing is getting. And it's quite sad, really.
From Swoop, it's Take the Plunge, a podcast of how business owners decided to stop what they were doing and took the plunge to start their own business. We take a look at how they came to that decision and what those first crucial steps were in getting their business up and running. My name is Kieran, and I'll be your host for this episode. This week, we're joined by Joanna Wilson, the founder of Just Work Tutoring, an online platform to support and motivate people all around the world, and Just Work Wellness. Joanna is also a Cambridge graduate and works alongside her family business too. So, Joanna, you're very, very welcome, and thanks so much for joining us. How are you doing today?
Hey guys, doing awesome, thanks. I've never ever been introduced to anything before, so that sounds weird, like introducing who I am.
There you go. I hope we did you justice.
Yes, absolutely. Probably made me sound slightly more exciting than I actually am, to be honest.
Okay, so let's take it back to just before Just Work Tutoring. What were you doing before you started your own business?
So I was actually at uni still, and like you said, I went to Cambridge, and one of the massive things with being at Cambridge is, I mean, they kind of say you're not allowed to get a job whilst being at uni, but the reality is that you just can't, in terms of just how busy your timetable is. You can't really commit to sort of a regular shift anywhere or anything like that. So it's really, really hard to sort of have any other sort of income whilst being at uni, which I know quite a lot of students around the rest of the country, they really actually need to be able to live their life at university. So for me, I was a student and I was studying really hard, but equally had this sort of extra urge to help people, as well as sort of look for something that fitted around my studies and fitted around, that wasn't a general sort of, you go in, you do this shift, this is what happens every single week. It was sort of I can do this whenever, I can fit it in around my crazy lifestyle and my crazy timetable. So that's sort of where I was and what I was doing, and therefore how like tutoring came up to fit in, if that makes sense.
Were you ever tempted to go down like a traditional path, or were you like, I definitely just want to be my own boss, I want to start my own thing? Was that always your intention?
I think I've sort of, my family, particularly my brother, we've all sort of been business oriented and business minded for quite a while now. So I knew I didn't want to do like the traditional get a Cambridge degree, move to London and get a job and just work there forever, which, like, definitely I'm not slating anyone who does that, because it's a route that people love and a route that people go down. But for me, I'm a home girl, I'm a northerner. I wanted to stay in Leeds.
You never tell. You never tell.
I wanted to stay in Leeds. I wanted to be at home, and I wanted to kind of have the option to do things on my own terms.
With that in mind, you obviously got to a place where you're making that decision. So what were the first couple of steps in getting up and running and getting it turned into a business?
Yeah, so for me, I actually spent a year doing the tutoring without actually calling it anything or it being anything. It was just, I had a couple of students that were regulars, and then I started to do what I call mindset sessions with students, which are basically just giving them advice and expertise and helping them come up with a little timetable. And that was just something for about a year that I was doing without even, like, I was just doing it whilst being at uni just for a bit of extra income. And I did sign up to a couple of tutoring sites myself, but one thing I found was that the amount of commission that the tutoring site takes from you. So the parent might pay, I'm just making up numbers here, but the parent might pay £25 for the student, for their child to be tutored, and the tutor might only get 15 of it or 10 of it. And for me, that, like, I wanted that to change, because I think the amount of hard work that the tutors put into their students deserves more recognition. So for about a year, I was just tutoring off my own back. And then I wanted to put a brand to it. I wanted it to become something that had a name and, like, people knew it as a thing. So about a year later, I decided to call it Just Work, which is actually came from, because JW are my initials as well. So that's how the Just Work works. And I also decided to make my own planners. And this was something that throughout school and throughout uni, I was a massive, massive planner geek. And what I found myself doing was, because I liked different bits from different people's planners, I'd end up having about 5 books that I took around with me everywhere. And it'd be like, right, well, I like the gratitude bit in this one, and I like the planning bit in this one, and I like how you can structure your day in this one. And I was literally, I'd have to carry like so many books around with me. So like my ideal was just to make a book mainly for myself that had everything I wanted in one place. So I only had to take one book round with me, which stemmed the birth of the planners as well. So with the name of the brand, and then obviously having a physical product, I was like, right, I definitely think I need to register myself as a business and get everything up and running properly, rather than it just being something that I was just doing anyway.
And when you were kind of getting things up and making an official brand, I mean, what were the kind of first couple of steps that you were trying to navigate when setting up the business?
Yeah, so a couple of big ones for me. I got a website. I invested in a website, which was definitely a really good step. It obviously makes it look more official, makes it sort of a landing page for people to go to. And what I'd actually done without knowing it is, in that year that I was sort of tutoring without knowing where it was going to go, I saved all my money from that, and it all just went into a PayPal account that I literally just didn't let myself touch, which was really, like I said, I didn't know I was doing it at the time, but it was really good for me, because then when it came to like having to pay for a website and pay for the planner stock and pay to become registered as a limited company and all that stuff, I sort of had the funds to be able to do that. So
Right.
yeah, so getting my website was a massive one. And then I initially, when for my first year, I just did it under self-employed as myself. But then
Yep.
after that, I decided to register Just Work as a limited company, which I got an accountant to do it. I'm the type of person that if it's something that I don't know how to do or I'm not familiar with at all, I'd rather just get someone else to do it.
Yeah.
So yeah, registered as a company and got a bank account as well.
And how, like, I suppose, how were those couple of things? Was it easy finding a website, finding the right one? Is it hard to get a business bank account? When you were finding the accountant, what were you looking for? How did you find the right one?
Yeah, so I was looking again. I know a lot of people create their own websites. Me being me, I honestly wouldn't even know where to start. And because I was studying as well at the time, I couldn't afford to be spending my hours. I was studying in my hours, so I couldn't afford to be trying to figure out how to make a website. So I outsourced that as well. Thankfully, I actually, through the Body Bible, which is one of my brother's businesses, we had a lady who did the website for that, so I already had that contact. But one thing I would definitely say is, like, you can outsource if it's not something that you are personally familiar with and you don't want to spend your hours and hours. A lot of things are quite easy and cheap to outsource. If using websites like Fiverr, or just going online and just having a search of whatever it is specifically that you want, can actually save you so much time. I'm the type of person that I value my time quite highly. So if I know it's something that's going to take me hours and hours and hours to do, I'd rather outsource it to someone else. And the same with the accountant, just did a little bit of research, got myself registered as a limited company. Interestingly enough, though, I did actually struggle to get a business bank account initially.
You're not the first person to say that, Joanna.
It's just, I think traditional banks, let me say, without naming any names,
They don't make it easy.
yeah, they want a traditional business, if that makes sense. And I just remember so clearly having a phone call with a guy from, again, I won't name any names, but a traditional bank, and him being like, I don't understand your business plan. I just don't see, like, we can't grant you the rights to get a business bank account if you've not got a solid structure and business plan. And I was just like, right, okay, see you later, bye. And I actually now bank with Starling for my business account. And honestly, I've not got a bad word to say about Starling, to the point where I'm actually considering moving my personal banking over there as well. It's so easy. It was so easy to set up. Like, the navigation is brilliant within it. And it is a bit weird because there's no like physical money with Starling, and there's no sort of branches or anything like that. But for me, it's just been incredible. And I've actually come into the point where I'm going to have to start handing over my business accounts for someone to do my end of year accounts for my tax. And
Yeah,
honestly, the way that Starling lays it out is just brilliant. Like, to be able to see exactly what you're spending, you can literally, as you're spending things, you can allocate it to certain categories, so that when it comes to doing your accounts, you literally say, right, this is how much I spent on inventory, this is how much I spent on marketing, this is how much I spent on admin. And you can do that without having to sit down at the end of the year and spend hours like pulling your hair out and physically doing it yourself.
because I think, as you say, it's just all about saving yourself time. But yeah, Starling isn't brilliant, so slick and easy to use. I also think the one you mentioned there, Fiverr.com, with all the oars at the end of it, is super useful for anyone who hasn't heard of it. If you're looking to outsource web development, website design, graphic design, visuals, you can just find so many options on it. I think that's a great shout. And then I suppose really interesting here, you talked to those initial steps. Is there anything that went kind of horribly wrong at the start where you're like, would have done something differently, or did it all go plain sailing?
I wouldn't say anything went terribly wrong. I think one thing I just think with any sort of business is when you start something up, because you're so passionate about it yourself, you just think that everyone else is just going to be as passionate about it as you are. You're like, right, I'm going to launch planners and they're just going to all sell out. And I think people who have businesses online and sort of the way the world is centric around influencers now, and lots of people becoming entrepreneurs and creating their own businesses and killing it, you're just like, oh, well, all I have to do is say I've got this business and everybody's going to buy my product and everyone's going to buy into it and everybody's, you know what I mean? And actually, in reality, when you click launch and you're like sat there for 10 minutes and there hasn't been a sale yet,
Google Analytics 1.
yeah, and you're like, yeah. It is a bit of a like harsh reality. You do sort of, it's very, very grounding and very, very humbling, but ultimately it's hard. It's hard to start your own business, and it's hard to build up that rapport with people and start to get your name out there. And I think, like I say, because it's the most amazing thing in your eyes, you automatically just think that everybody else is just going to be as passionate about it as you are, when in reality it's probably not the case. And you've got to sort of build that solid foundation to be able to start like growing that audience and growing those sales and everything like that.
And then I suppose in terms of that, when you hit the big red button and you're like, okay, hold on a second, there's not thousands here on day one. What were the kind of steps you were doing to get that traction, to get people more familiar with the brand, get it out there? What kind of steps did you take? What kind of things seemed to work for you?
Yeah, I think one of my massive things is consistency with everything. So with anything that you're doing, be it on your social media pages, be it on like any sort of platform, be it on whatever it is you're doing, like being consistent with it is so important to be able to grow that audience. What you've got to realize, particularly on the marketing front, is that you're engaging with a new audience, and it takes time to sort of like attract that audience that is interested in the things that you're posting about. And I think, like I said, because it's the most passionate and amazing thing in my world, I just thought, right, if I go on my personal Instagram and if I start talking about tutoring, people are going to be interested in that. And the reality is, the people that were already on my Instagram were not there because of tutoring. They were there because of different areas of my life and different things that I'm involved in. So it just takes time to consistently build that brand and like attract that audience that is interested in exactly what you're about and exactly what you're posting in. And I think often a lot of people give up before they break through, because they think, oh, no one's interested in this, it's not getting the engagement that everything else I'm doing is getting. And it's quite sad, really. I think we live in a world at the minute where it's sort of dictated by engagement and likes, and if you can detach yourself from that and just think, you know what, trust the process, let's be consistent with what we're doing, we're passionate about this, we know there's a market for it, and it will come eventually, the more consistent we are with it, then that's a much better way to sort of view it and think about it.
Yeah, love that. I suppose through that and getting the brand there, has there been a moment where like, oh, this has been the day, it's my favorite moment of it so far, or has it just been lots of different highs along the way?
A little bit of both, I think. Like that feeling when you've got a physical product and that like first sale comes through.
It's addictive.
It's just such a good and it's not even the first one actually. I don't know why I keep saying the first one. Like any sale comes through, it's like wow, someone's actually been online, put in their bank details, put in their card information, and paid for something that I've created. Like that feeling is just it's pride more than anything. I think wow, like I've
Absolutely.
created something that somebody wants to actually spend their money on. So yeah, I think that's definitely one that always sort of hits home with me from a business standpoint. And then also my mission in life is just helping others. So when I'm tutoring and someone has that breakthrough moment where they like finally get it, or if I get a message saying, you know what, your positivity or what you're doing is really, really helped me, that outweighs any sort of financial gain, in my opinion. Like just knowing that what you've done has helped someone, or you've supported someone in feeling better about themselves, or learning a concept that they've never understood, or like understanding things relating to their mindset and their studies. Like that feeling of someone actually saying like thank you, this has really helped me, is just incredible. Like it's the best thing in the world.
And then in terms of the business now, what are your kind of next steps? What are your ideas in terms of growing it, and what's exciting you at the moment?
I think at the moment I've actually the tutoring side of things in terms of students has just blown. I think it's the state of the world at the minute. I think everyone's a little bit unsure. Everyone's had sort of 6 months off of school. There could be a scenario where what the grades that they get in their mocks in December or January could be their final grades. So my tutoring, I've actually got more students than I've ever had at one time in the past, which is incredible. So I'm kind of enjoying getting back into that again. Just getting, I've got like preparing for my like science sessions and math sessions. That's been really quite nice getting prepared for that. And then I think one thing I want to try and start rolling out a little bit more is more group work, more sort of group sessions or like lecture slash webinar style sessions. So I can hit more. I know tutoring is quite I don't know whether privileged is the right word, but it's an expensive service. Like there's no
Mm-hmm.
lying about that fact. So to be able to sort of roll things out a little bit more mass so it can be
Mm-hmm.
cheaper for more
Yeah.
people is something that I'm really keen to do over the next couple of months, particularly like you say with the state of the world, with people being a little bit behind, with the uncertainty, to be able to touch as
Mm-hmm.
many bases as I possibly can and make it more accessible for more people is something that I'm really keen to get doing.
And would you kind of look at similar tools that industries would use, say like the fitness industry, how they've used kind of the virtual world to go for more online classes and systems they would use? Would you take inspiration from that and find tools from that walk of life?
Definitely. I think that, like if this lockdown has taught me anything, it's that opportunities from home and online are flipping endless. Like
That is true.
the stuff that you can do is just insane. And I'm a massive dreamer. I'm like, if I'm sat here doing a session with one person, then who says there can't be 100 people sat on here listening to this? Because it's the same thing. And I think it's crazy what we can do from the comfort of our own home. And I've seen loads of different people in my life do this in many different ways, be it fitness classes, be it sort of anything that's sort of in a traditional sense, but moving it online is just, I feel like the this year has really taught us how to do that. And I think, yeah, definitely inspired by it. And there's lots and lots of opportunities within the education field to be able to use it as well.
Amazing. Well, Joanna, you've had so many nuggets in there for any kind of new startup business, how to navigate a business bank account, where to go in terms of looking for websites. If you don't have the skill set, there's no harm in outsourcing it. I think it's a very, very good nugget. But like honestly, it's been so refreshing just to hear your mindset and attitude, and like just positivity beams throughout it, and it's just so good to see. So wish you all the best with Just Work Tutoring and Just Work Wellness. I'm sure you're going to continue to smash it, and I hope people come in their droves to join in those group sessions when you launch them, no doubt. But thanks so much for coming on and joining us at Take the Plunge. It's been brilliant having you.
Thank you so much, guys. It's been a pleasure.